actor and director, lives in Seattle, and I auditioned for Twin Peaks Season 3 and did not get cast. That's a fun fact about me. Enough about me. Let me introduce the folks you're here to see. Please welcome Harry Goaz, Kimmy Robertson, James Marshall, and Sherilyn Finn. And as opposed to yesterday, this is going to be entirely your questions and answers, because I certainly got to speak plenty yesterday. So let's just go ahead and start raising hands and start firing off some questions. I'll point at you. Yes, sir.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much. My wife and I fell in love in the college dorm, the TV lounge of the dorms. We fell in love watching your guys' show.
Yay!
Our 3 kids, thank you for their also, all of our dogs are all named after minor characters in Twin Peaks. Not major characters. My question is regarding the script. The scripts. Directors like Woody Allen are famous for hiding parts of the script and only offering little bits and pieces for you all. I have a vision in my head of you guys all huddled in your trailers trying to figure out the plot lines the way us fans are. So did Lynch deal out the whole script to you, parts of the script? How was it rolled out, and how did you plan your roles based on what he gave you?
I think Kyle was the only one that got the whole.
I think she's okay. All right. We're okay.
Should I stand up? No. Okay. Anyway, I think Kyle, and probably because he was in it so much, was one of the only ones that got the entire script that I know of. And for me, as the actor, it just clicks in. I don't know how to say it. I think there's the trust that was built when we worked together, and then even if you're not working together, the fact that it kept living on and that people kept loving it, it made you have even more trust in that. And for me, I didn't have a bunch of those questions. It was just like, dive in.
You hit it on the head. Yeah, we were in the trailer, not speaking to each other, but trying to get stuff out of it. I can't tell you, man. I know I can't tell you. It's like, and we had our pages with us, and that was it, and they weren't allowed to see our stuff. We weren't allowed to see, but we were always attempting to, and then backing off, and you know what? I know I can't tell her. Yeah. So it was very odd, but really cool. I actually liked shooting like that. There was something beautiful about not knowing, because that's like real life, sort of. You don't know everything of other people's stuff, so it focuses you on you, and your stuff, and you're not preoccupied with how you're looking throughout or anything, you know what I mean? So I loved it. And there's something about keeping a secret, too, that makes it a little bit more private and a little bit more special, I think.
I think that he forgot about me all the time. So I would go into my trailer and go, I wonder if I have any pages today. Because they wouldn't be there. And in makeup and hair and Dwayne Dunham, they got to read the scripts. And makeup and hair might be going, "Oh, today's the day you." Sorry. Oh my gosh! Don't say it! Don't say it! I won't! I almost did it, but I'm not going to tell you. And that happened a lot. I'm not sure why, but it happened a lot. And then the pages were always too small for me to read anyway without glasses. And then I could never find my glasses because it was cold and I had 40 coats on. So I didn't know which pocket the glasses were in. And then by the time, if I did get pages, by the time I got to the set, everything would be different. And he'd be all ready to shoot and say, "Do you have your lines?" "What lines?" It happened all the time in the jail cell with Nye and the pajamas and stuff. "Do you know your lines? Do you have your lines?" "What lines?" I think my experience is slightly different than everybody else. Always. All the time.
Well, when I first got there, Mr. Lynch sent for me, and they brought me over to him, and he said, "Now, Harry, no one has the entire script except Sherilyn Finn. Don't tell Kyle."
And Sherilyn's pissed about it.
Liar, Harry.
Another question?
That's it? Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
I've got a question for Harry. Do you like Douglas Sirk?
Yes. Yes. Yes, I love Douglas Sirk. He's one of my favorite directors from the studios back then who was heavily stylized, and he was heavily stylized in color. And it's so funny that the conversation you were having yesterday about the progression of your character is very much like Douglas Sirk's Written on the Wind with Dorothy Malone. And if you go to the very end of that film, there's a transition that's very similar to Audrey and the end of the film. And I don't think it's a secret that I'm a Douglas Sirk fanatic.
Except it's similar, not similar.
But in the biz, we just say sim.
Hollywood.
I have another question for Harry. It might be a little controversial. So, which do you prefer, long walks on the beach or candlelit dinners?
Come on, baby.
After holding hands, I like the beach.
Active.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'm not going to spoil anyone for
Thank you.
Have any of you read the books, like the Final Dossier, especially? It had a lot of stuff about Audrey and what happened in those 25 or so years in between, and what do you think about what happened to your characters after the third season or before the third season? Because it kind of goes into there.
I have to say, before I went to the airport Friday, I accidentally saw that those books existed. Well, because everybody went to the signing at Romans, and I was passing out candy because it was Halloween. I couldn't go to some book signing. Well, there's 8,000 kids because I live in a 13-bag neighborhood.
So now I don't even remember what the question was. I didn't, I didn't read any of those, and it was about guessing what the characters did afterwards? Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
there's a little bit about what happened immediately after season 3, and there's a lot about what happened in the 25 years between the season 2 and 3.
Yeah, no, I won't even comment on it, like, again, just because of possibilities. God willing, anything should ever happen with this again. I wouldn't want it to, hurt their ability to go to their banks and take out what they need to take, and, just keep it quiet, because I could guess at what happened, and that might just, it would only be me guessing. So, but yeah.
I didn't read them. I didn't read them.
Were they good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read them.
Oh, you know what I did see at one of the festivals? Like the first line of some letter I was supposed to have written. I'm sorry, I'm a spoiled little bitch or something. It's like, what the hell?
Thanks, Mark.
I was like, what the hell? Yeah, so is that from the same one?
It's from A Secret History of Twin Peaks.
That's the first one there.
Yes, it's a secret history.
That's from the Secret History.
Okay.
He wrote to Van Horn.
God, do we appear ignorant or
Yeah.
what? Can we move on to the next question?
Knowing your characters that you did them, would you rather meet your character's Talupa or your character's doppelganger?
Said Talupa.
Did I?
Tolba.
Tulpa.
Oh.
I think they got it. They understood.
Probably neither. I mean, that's pretty freaky.
I've met my doppelganger a bunch of times. I mean, right?
Yeah.
At different festivals and in life, and Carol Kane and Victoria Jackson. Of course, Morgan Fairchild.
I met my doppelganger yesterday.
I think I'd like to do the Toluca.
Doppelganger?
Doppelganger.
Yeah. There can't be, there is not another Sherilyn.
Oh, you're sweet.
Are you sure?
Yeah, actually, that is the right answer.
Next question? You guys gotta have a question. Grill 'em. Here you go.
Harry, as you were in the car waiting for the man to show up, past Sparkling 21 and over by the Joneses, and you look at your watch, was that your watch? We figured.
Yes, and no one knows why except for Mr. Lynch.
Oh. Not even
So in
you.
other words, it's not random.
No, it's not random,
Yeah.
and it's an affirmation for my life
Hmm.
as I've lived it through my trials and tribulations.
Yes.
I have a question for Sherilyn. So Audrey, I've always loved Audrey and really identified with her, but she's this character that like nothing really terrible ever happens to, but she has this tragic, just essence that's so melancholy. And I wondered if you could speak about sort of the romanticization of tragedy and what that means for you, for that character, and for your impact on the world.
That's cool. I don't, just because we didn't see what bad things happened didn't mean they didn't happen. You know what I mean? I guess we're all really good at wearing those masks, and she was too. And not only just wearing a mask, but needing to survive. So I think she became adept at that. And I think she did go through some stuff. Just on the scale of not having a father is pretty big. And he's there, but he's not there, you know? So I think there was a lot of stuff. Maybe it's romantic to see that stuff because we all really have it, but we hide it. Maybe that's why people relate to something there. I mean, I always wonder, like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I would have been the last person to expect anything to happen. It wasn't supposed to happen. That was just supposed to be like a C character that just came in and and maybe unfortunately people gravitate towards suffering because it makes them feel alive or real, and they don't realize that it can really just be damaging and depressing to stay in that place. It's like the thing of like judging, Deputy Andy because he cries, and like the masses will think he's weak, but he's strong. Like, it's like everyone's got to ask backward. I used to think whatever you think of, just switch it around. Did that answer you? Okay.
Yes.
Talking about backstage dynamics, of the other actors, who was the most obnoxious? Who's the favorite? What was the actor that everybody loved? And what was the actor that everybody rolled their eyes when they walked in?
Everybody loves Kimmy. Kimmy. Everyone loves her. How could you not?
Yeah.
Authentic. She's like a little earthbound angel. That's just the way it is.
It's true, though. I'd say pretty much, yeah.
We might all have someone different. I think we might have something different. I'll tell you, I didn't like. Well, but she wasn't a regular person. She just came to direct one episode, and I didn't like her. Diane Keaton. Because I felt like it was more about Diane Keaton than Twin Peaks. And we were like really invested in Twin Peaks. But Diane Keaton comes with like all this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm calling David. You know? I did. I don't like her, you know. Because I mean, it meant a lot. You look to your director, and I was just like, why is she here?
She wasn't giving.
Yeah, right? She wasn't giving. She just wasn't giving.
She had great white shirts, though.
Yeah, white, the whole costume and the thing, and then, yeah.
My homage.
Perfect white shirts. All starched and ironed just like Harry. If I put that on, it would be wrinkled before the last button was buttoned. And there'd be taco grease on it.
Think we have a question?
So, I forgot, I'm too nervous, sorry.
Someone's soccer.
Yes, Gabrielle.
For sure.
Gabrielle.
Unrelated to Twin Peaks, Diary of a Hitman, which I just rewatched again on cable. It was so good, and you're so great in it. How was it working, of course, with her?
That movie means so much to me for so many reasons. That was a movie that my acting teacher got us a play and adapted it for me. Because he said, now I'll show all these idiots what you can do. He was like my biggest fan, you know, and he was so empowering on so many levels. I was talking about that. He was the one that said to me, oh, sweetheart, you still think your weakness or you still think that
Your weakness is your weakness, but it's your strength.
your vulnerability is your weakness. You haven't yet realized it's your strength. Working with Forrest is a dream. I mean, Forrest Whitaker, he is generous. He's an amazing actor. He was wonderful, and he jumped in at the end. And yeah, it was a very small movie, but it was a very character-driven movie. I'm glad you saw it. I'm very proud of it. Thank you so much.
I think I have the courage again.
Yeah. Come on,
You got
girl.
Was that James's real voice in the Just
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, no, there's there's like a little story about, I think I already kind of covered it though. You know, just that it was recorded before I got there and the key was a little bit hard for me to get to. And it was going to be falsetto anyway, but it sounds a little more strained than usual, or reaching for the note because of, it really was a strange key for me to sing in. So to sing that high in falsetto really was odd, but yeah, no, I have a weird voice. I could do, I could do like bass and high falsetto, which is a weird thing sometimes, but yeah. But
Awesome.
Can you sing it in bass for us?
Just you.
Yes, down in front.
All right, I've got another question for James. So in Fire Walk with Me, one of my favorite parts is like the turkey conversation with Laura. Do you think that would have shaped James's future Thanksgivings for the rest of his life?
luckily, if you knew James' background, he probably didn't have that many Thanksgivings. His family was very dysfunctional, so it probably didn't ruin much, but yeah, that's a very good question in a weird way.
But this ruins this James.
Yeah.
It's always with him.
Yes.
So obviously Twin Peaks and David Lynch are like synonymous. Did the cast have much interaction with Mark Frost? And what was the dynamic like between him versus David?
I just felt it.
I can only say from the original series, what he was there quite often, standing right next to David.
Directing episodes.
Yes, and directing episodes. So I mean, he was just always there, and so it was a team. It was obviously a team. And then this recent one, it was more. He would pop in now and then. He did the work before, and it was all David directing. And all of that was in Mr. Lynch's head. All of it. There was nothing that I mean, it was all, every detail was in there before he got to the set, which I think is crazy amazing. But we love Mark too.
Sherilyn, how did you feel about Audrey and Bobby's friendship?
Sorry.
It's okay. I loved it. I was so happy when I got to start to do scenes with Bobby. Because me and Dana click, you know, and Dana is exactly the same right now. If he talks, right, and he does all this stuff, and it's like, Dana, and I loved it. I mean, I wish that, you know, that had happened instead of that love interest that they chose to come in. And it's nothing personal. I like him. I love him. He's a great person. But it's just, Dana's he's just a bright light. He's just a great, funny, wonderful person. And the scenes were fun. It was like, what the fuck you did? We just had a good time. Yeah, I think it comes through. Yeah.
Who's gonna talk?
I have to say that Dana's amazing. Every time I see him, he's always inviting me to New York to come meet his dogs.
I just want to go back to David Lynch's head. I guess it's one of my only exposures to Lynch that I liked, I guess, because I'm often like, wow, what the hell? So I'm just wondering if there was ever moments in the script or you were doing a scene where you're like,
Oh my God, all the time.
you
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Just all the time, really.
Did you say I'm your favorite?
yeah, you and Harry are my favorite.
Oh. Did you write the check for her? Who's answering?
Anybody.
I think Sherilyn said it all the time. Which is, it's like being on a roller coaster, but it's not fast. Really slow.
Then it goes,
But then it goes
picks
back,
up, and then
picks
goes,
up,
it actually is like a roller coaster.
It's actually just like a roller coaster.
Yes.
Wait.
Oh.
No, because he works from a place that's so cool, and that he believes most people, what they would think is an accident is a gift. It's like, oh, let's use it, let's use that, and like arrive on the set and completely rewrite scenes, which is fun when you're young and scared. You're like, no, you know, but then they end up being just more than you could imagine. And also, if you read Northwest Passage, the original script, and then you see it, it was the biggest. I'd seen David's films. I've been a fan, but to have read it and just see it flat on the page and then see it, it's like the man is a genius. He's an artist connected to his truth, and he just everything came to life in a way that I never imagined.
Any real spiritual or occult references that like really resonated with either of you guys in either the original or the return series?
Well, the other day I was at the airport and I needed to text James and make sure he was awake so he didn't miss the plane. And turns out he was on a different plane on a different part of the airport. So I wrote, at the same time I was trying to remember a quote I had written, not a quote, but just a sentence I had written that has to do with circling back, touching base, and leaving word. And I couldn't remember that sentence. It was a sentence. And I said out loud, I wonder what that sentence is. So I wrote, James, are you awake? And then I put the phone like down for a second to step up a step, brought the phone back to my face, and there was the sentence after, are you awake? It was written there. That shit happens all the time when you're around, when you work for David Lynch. I didn't type anything. I had no idea even the first, I knew circle back was part of it, but that was it. It was all typed right there on my phone. Magic.
Yeah, it's like synchronicities. Like when Carl Jung talks about synchronicities or whatever, I find that when, like, Sherilyn and I flew up together to do the pilot, and it was like we sat next to each other. It was very funny just how the whole thing went. And then after Twin Peaks, all the synchronistic sort of stuff that would happen, you know, like somebody would say something, like, and you'd look up and that exact thing they just said was the title of something and it was written above them on a sign, you know, that kind of stuff. Strange things like that, like constantly, you know, so yeah, there's definitely a connection there. And I think that's what TM does. I think meditation is, I think the word yoga means to connect. And I think meditation, that's a connection. And I think that when you do that, you're opening yourself up to a certain vibration of some kind of love essence or something, and it just sort of, it really does connect things, you know? And yeah, and honestly, I think that's one of the reasons, besides how brilliant he is, that everybody just sort of has this familial thing going on, you know? It's really cool.
Yes.
This was probably covered yesterday, so I'm sorry if it's a repeat, but I wasn't here and I want to know. What were your reactions to versus three characters, where your characters had grown into?
I didn't know what, I was looking at mine, kind of going, mine what felt like mist is the only thing it just felt like something like mist. That's the only thing I could think. It was very sort of ethereal feeling, because it wasn't written sort of rote or anything. It was just sort of, it was neat. I really liked it. It wasn't, to me, because when I wasn't about like amount or whatever to me, or wasn't about, oh, I've got all this screen time or not screen. It wasn't an ego thing at all. I was just like, oh wow, look at what he's doing. Okay, like he's doing this. Okay, got you. You know, it's kind of it's just a cool thing where you become more of. I felt like it was more of the character became more of a wind or a mist or something coming through, rather than just a normal person kind of thing. That's what it felt like. So yeah.
Well, I was over at David Lynch's house and for something, and he was editing something that James was in, and we were both looking at it, and he shook his head and he looked at me and he goes, "Isn't he cool?" I was like, "Yep." Because, I mean, James is just the coolest. And I went, "I know." And then he goes, "But he's always been the coolest." I was like, he's just so damn cool. And I went, "Yep." So it's a cool mist.
Oh gosh.
I remember I talked to Cheryl Lee, and I'm like, so what, you know, because of course we talk because we're bad. And I said, so what'd you think? And she's just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I have no idea what I'm doing. I love David, I'm here, but I can't tell you I'm doing this or this or this. But again, it's not like, oh, I have no idea. You know, it's like, I was David and I'm not sure what I'm doing. You know, and that's okay. Mine, which I already shared, I had issues with the beginning, and what came back was really scary and wonderful and raw, and I think my only fear was that it was so different than who had been shown in the original series. I really thought people might hate her. I did, like, hate her. Somebody did a funny tweet. They're like, first I want to slap her, and then I want to hug her, and then I want to, you know, throw her out the window, and then I want to, and it made sense.
Yeah, I have kind of a silly question for Harry. What do you think about Deputy Andy's name? Did it come from the Andy Griffith show? There was also one on
Even from Toy Story.
Yeah.
Deadly Andy.
I don't know. I know David has a thing about names and places, and that's something he would be able to answer because it would mean something to him, but I don't know what his reference was.
Now I know what's been wrong with me all day.
Miss.
Yeah, oh.
It was squeezing my head.
Feel better?
Feel better. Next!
So what's one thing that's always resonated with you, like a thought, idea, something that happened that you just always can think back to from your Twin Peaks days?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, it was prior to Twin Peaks. People know this. I went to go see Blue Velvet, and it was the first movie that had transported me in actual time when I saw the film. Since Suddenly Last Summer, the movie Suddenly Last Summer, and I remember I walked out of the theater and there was a girl standing outside the theater, and her name was Maria Sentry, and her father was a very prominent and famous character actor way back in the 40s or 50s, and she saw me coming out of the theater and she said, well, what did you think of Blue Velvet? And I was, of course, stunned. And she said, and I told her what I thought of it. It was a long story, but she said, I'm working at Dino De Laurentiis now, and there's a huge picture of you in the wall, and David Lynch is in there pitching One Saliva Bubble, the feature, and I never got over that. And then I met David a year later and was cast in Twin Peaks.
Wow.
Yes.
There's a picture of Lucy and Andy's family on Lucy's desk, and it's so ridiculous, and I was wondering, did anyone get to keep it, and is there any way we can get a print of that?
The thing about that is I walked in and that whole heater thing was the first thing I did. And then I remember I went, and I saw the picture, and the prop person was waiting for me to see it. So proud of it. And I went, what the fuck? And he said, that's the Brennan family. And I said, oh my God, are you guys going to do those as Christmas cards? And he said, he just did it. And I think that's just it.
So
I don't know where it is.
So what are you going to do if that is Dick Tremaine's son in that picture and not mine?
What am I?
Apparently, Ian Buchanan's tweeting that it's really his.
Yes.
Speaking of sons, which one did you prefer, Little Nicky or Wally Brando?
Wally Brando. But little Nicky grew up to be quite handsome and very talented. The person.
Yeah. Question specifically for James. In Fire Walk with Me, the scene where Laura leaps off the back of the bike and runs back into the forest, and then you take off on the bike. Your feet are out, your heels are dragging on the pavement. It's literally the most rock and roll moment ever. Tell me about the bike. Did you know how to ride before? What happened to the bike?
Well,
Tell me
that was probably one of the coolest shots, I thought, and I loved how it looked, and the balls it took to just fly full bore around that corner, you know what I mean? Just wish it was me. Yeah,
They
so.
never let you do. They wouldn't let him do it anyway.
Yeah, but
He's like, yeah, but I couldn't do it.
yeah, no, not at that. They had me do everything with the riding. I did all the riding on the show and stuff, except for that one scene, because he had to go full bore around a corner he wanted him to go as fast as he could, and they just said, you can't do that, buddy. So
I'm not from Hollywood, so I can tell you the truth, and James really did do that.
Don't tell Wells Fargo.
say so much.
Yeah.
So, both as your characters and as yourselves, is there one thing that you would tell now your younger self?
Run.
Oh my God.
Join a convent. Move to Bali.
You mean as
Yeah, what is
our
Like
characters
within-
or as us?
Within your character,
Oh,
like
okay.
as your older character,
Oh,
would you
gotcha.
tell your younger character something? And then also as yourself, would you now tell
I'd be
your
like,
younger
you
self?
better enjoy it, because it's gonna get really bad. But hopefully you'll come out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't know what to tell my younger character. What do you say? Any advice or whatever, I wouldn't know, because I think it's all probably supposed to go the way it went, I guess, probably. You know, I don't know.
It's the Helen Mirren quote, right? What would you tell your younger self? To just say fuck it more. Say fuck it, just let it go, all the worry and the angst and the this and the that.
Yeah, learn to be more brave.
Relax, yeah. Relax and enjoy. And don't have to have every hair perfect, and don't wear a condom. And just say yes.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to piggyback on
Yes.
that and ask a question. So I have no doubt that we'll get more Twin Peaks in some form at some point. However, if you were to have a wish for your character in this upcoming, no matter how frivolous it could be, what would your wish be for what might happen to your respective characters?
I want Audrey to go towards the light. I want her to not be a character that goes towards dark and all of that stuff. I want her to go towards God and the light, and to see angels, and to be maybe delivering messages that are coming to her to maybe help, Special Agent Dale Cooper. Yeah, I like her to be a character that retreated into something, because this was just too messed up and painful. And I think that is sad. But I just think I believe in light more than dark. And I believe Audrey always had a light, which is why I didn't know it when I did it, but that people cared for so long. I believe love and light is the most powerful, and there's something that's drawing them to that. Because it was never try to be sexy, try to be this, it was never any of that. It was just try to be really honest, and this young person exploring her power and who she was, and then, oh my God, she sees this guy and thinks she's in love with him. I used to do that. Like, so innocent or naive, you're like, oh, and if I'm with him, then everything will be okay, and she's a young girl.
I would wish that Lucy would get to wear tighter skirts.
I think we all wish that.
No, but think about this. I would really like to see a lot of grandchildren.
I think basically James was probably nothing I should change. I think you guys said, I think or asked it yesterday, or somebody did, about him being at peace. I think he's just at peace. I think something happened to him, and I think it just knocked it out of him, and he's just like, okay. And he's like, sort of in a way there already, but didn't really try to. He just kind of got tossed there, I guess. So.
He got cooler.
Coolness.
Coolness. And I think we got a little surprise.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to interrupt you guys. We all love Voodoo Donuts, right? Well, they made a special, I don't know if you guys can see this, but they put
Holding it up in the air.
They put their cast. How awesome is that? They made this special for you. I know you're going to like this. You've already had 2 Voodoo Donuts today. But isn't that great?
But wait, what is this one
That's
with
the voodoo
stick
guy.
through the? Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
gosh!
why. He's
okay.
filled with like blood jelly or something like that.
That's
Yeah, I thought you guys would
amazing.
appreciate that.
Before it
so.
gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in the green room for you guys. But,
Oh my God.
yeah. That's really beautiful. But I just want, we all love our voodoo donuts here, and I know you guys have experienced it, so I wanted to interrupt and show you before someone destroyed them. All right, have fun, enjoy.
And actually, that's our time for today, but I think that's a good way to go out. Please give your love one more time. And please, come say hi at the table too. Table 2? No, all the, oh, we're all in.
Thank you for watching the panel. Come to the Eugene Eucon next year, hopefully.
The Eucon,
Yes,
Yes.
next year.
Come see us.
yes, all of us, us four.
And maybe more.